I don't think we've ever had this many Bazaar items revealed to us at one time. At least not in the current build, so I'm not going to waste any more of your time, and let's get into it.
You should know, I'm a bit of a legend on Pelago.
We are jumping into another Atlas Archives, this time the Frost Street Champion. Fair enough. Seems very champion-y, very gruff, a big Yeti kind of fella. Atlas Archives.
Native to the Arctic outland Yeteria, these furry giants venture into the Bazaar, seeking not food or commerce, but the pure joy of violence.
Okay. So a big, like...
freezer, eat later.
Restless
Hilarious.
Yeterians lumber around Frost Street on the cold outer rim of the city, seeking the rare
Double
Bazaar
whammy.
who can challenge
Phonograph.
their might.
Okay. We'll look at those after.
Looked arms. Great axe on head.
Iceberg. So we're getting a bunch of freezy items. The nitrogen hammer, sapphire. Go on, hop on the whole board. Why not? Frozen bludgeon, frost potion, snowflake. Amazing. Okay, so we're gonna get what? That's like 8 items already. A lot of freezing. We'll see if we can figure out what his power is doing as well. His power seems to be, or should be easy to track. Now we know all the items do. 107 money, Pygmalion, by the way.
Wild brutes, but their violent society has its own code of honor.
Very like gladiatorial yetis.
Soda champion.
And they are surprisingly good sports about losing, though they rarely.
That is a big yeti club.
Clean, cool,
Oh, there's one of them like losing to them.
The elder warned me this would
The
happen.
Icebreaker. Remove freeze from your items. Okay, so if freeze becomes like a big part of the meta, or like we've got like an item to fight back against it, that is kind of wrecking him. I wonder how often we'll see these like like specific condition weapons and items. Oh, there we go. We know what it does. We get to see it later on. No need to figure it out. Oh, haven't seen that guy before. The merchant, like meditating. Very cool. Well, let's dive in. So first things first, we have the double whammy, a large weapon every 6.8 seconds with 25 speed, might I add. Deal damage equal to 20% of your maximum health with a multicast of 2. So you want to build massive stacks of health, and then this will bam bam, double whammy, will destroy. So at the moment this is doing basically 1,000 damage, or over 1,000 damage, which in Bazaar terms is a decent chunk. So that's like a max health build. That is gold, by the way. That was the golden version. The phonograph, a golden medium item. The item to the left of this charge is 50% faster. Okay, so that was... What was the double whammy? The double whammy was 6.8 seconds. 25 speed would have shaved off 1.2 seconds if it was an 8-second cooldown. So the default for double whammy is 16 seconds. Am I doing the 50% right? So I'm suggesting, I'm thinking in my headcanon maths that double whammy, golden, base 8-second cooldown. Sorry, not base 8-second cooldown. Is 8-second cooldown with phonograph. Items to the left of this charge 50% faster. Oh no, that wouldn't do it then. Okay, yeah. So the base for double whammy is 8 seconds. This means, I think items charging 50% faster is basically give that item 50 speed. I assume it's also multiplicative, so it's giving the 6.8 second cooldown 50 speed. In fact, that's already going to be factored in, isn't it? When we see... Surely when we see the cooldown on double whammy, phonograph is already added to this. So who knows what the base cooldown of double whammy is? However, you can stack speed, You can throw a phonograph on there, which, by the way, phonograph is going to be one of those, like, essential, like, combination items where if you've got a really long cooldown item, maybe it works really well with speed. We have no idea. Maybe you want to set that up alongside it to, like, give them extra charge. Maybe there's another item that you can place to the left of double whammy that will help speed it up. Maybe it's an advanced item, right? So I can see you can doing some really cool things with phonograph plus something, but phonograph plus double whammy as well, obviously very, very good. We then go into the battle against the Frost Street champion. His rewards are 13 money, 3 of what I can only assume, at least what we're running with, is some sort of XP, like the little notches underneath Pygmalion, and then 1 of their items and or abilities, because we saw an ability right at the end. So, we jump in against the Frost champion. They have an Iceberg, which at the Platinum tier, or Diamond tier, we're calling it Diamond. At the Diamond tier is a large aquatic property. When your enemy uses an item, freeze it for 2 seconds. That is a beautiful combo breaker. A lovely piece of tech for a freeze build. Because it should work, well, it'll work incredibly effectively against lots of fast-firing items. The build that this Pygmalion's running is probably the worst thing for this to run into, because it's going to use double whammy. Like, well, I'm looking at the Frost champion, he's got 3k health. So it's going to use double whammy 3 times. So this Iceberg isn't going to get much value out. It's going to get 6 seconds of value. Where if we had like a massive board full of like all small items, all triggering really fast, maybe it's dually and it's got the core and it's like advancing items and whatnot, Iceberg is going to go ham. So that looks like it could be a really nice like core piece for a freeze build. The Nitrogen Hammer at, once again, the Diamond tier is a medium weapon. Every 8 seconds, deal 55 damage. Freeze an item for 3 seconds. When you freeze an item, give this plus 50 damage for the fight. Now this is the Diamond tier, so it's going to be souped up. I should have said that for the Iceberg as well. This is going to be souped up, so maybe it's like 10 damage, then 25, then 50? No, I need to add another layer into that. It's probably a lot less to begin with than plus 50 damage per freeze. But like I say, imagine... So this triggers at 8 seconds, right? Imagine you go against a dually who has 3-4 second cooldown items. Those 3 will trigger before Nitrogen Hammer. Those 3 things will then get frozen because we have Iceberg. So they will now take 6 seconds to activate again. Before they get to activate, Nitrogen Hammer comes in, and because we've frozen 3 things, Nitrogen Hammer now has an extra 150 damage. It then also freezes an item itself, so it gives itself plus 50 damage. Very, very cool looking item. Again, this is just an NPC though, so we're going to wipe the floor with them, but like, I could see a world where these items are pretty cool to use. Sapphire is a small, in this case, golden item. Every 8 seconds, freeze an item for 4 seconds. Increase your other items freeze by 1 second. I also just noticed this guy has 20 speed, but all of the cooldown timers have been like exactly on the money. I wonder if it's because we're before the fight. So I don't think that 20 speed has been applied yet. So, freeze an item for 4 seconds, increase your other items freeze by 1 second. I wonder if that's also been added already. So I wonder if Iceberg is just freeze for 1 second, and if this is freeze for 2 seconds. Interesting to know. I wonder if this is actually freeze for 3 seconds, but it's already... Oh no, increase your other items. Ignore me there. So, freeze an item every 4 seconds, that's okay. I mean, increasing your other items freeze is insane, especially when added to the Iceberg. If it isn't already added, that's a 3 second freeze on every item they use, which is kind of insane. For just a small item slot as well, very nice. And does a little freeze itself. Moving on, we have the Frozen Bludgeon, a medium weapon, golden tier at this point. Every 12 seconds, deal 90 damage and freeze an item for 4 seconds. When you freeze an item, give your weapons plus 4 damage for this fight. Okay, so this is like a worse version, I guess, of the Nitrogen Hammer, the Frozen Bludgeon. It's got a longer cooldown. It's got more base damage, sure, and more base freeze. And it does buff all of your weapons, but I doubt in most freeze builds that you'll have enough space for a lot of freezing things and a lot of weapons to be able to boost them all. And it's still just for this fight. So I don't see Frozen Bludgeon popping off, but I could be completely wrong. Moving along, we have the... Oh, we went very fast across those two. We have the Frost Potion, which is this golden tier, a small potion with 1 ammo that after 3 seconds will freeze an item for 5 seconds. That's a nice early freeze. That'll get 1 hit in, which will trigger all of our other things. So our Nitrogen Hammer will gain 54 damage, and our Bludgeon will gain 4 damage. But just within 3 seconds. That's a nice early trigger to get things going with the Frost Potion. And then the Snowflake, which is a small at this diamond tier. When you sell this, give your leftmost freeze item plus 1 freeze. Very cool. So you could sell that now, Mr. Yeti Champion, and it would make Iceberg even more deadly. So, very cool Frozen build there. It is going to lose horribly. So we see that trigger. This gains 54 damage. This gains 4 damage. We actually land the freeze on the double whammy. And a bit of a spoiler for ahead. We seem to be gaining strength every time we freeze, which I assume is something to do with this guy. Yep, we trigger, dealing 595 damage, which would be a lot, but this Pygmalion... Oh my god, this Pygmalion has a ton of health, and we might actually lose to this. Yeah, the freeze is going to pop off, surely. I don't remember seeing this in the battle that we lost. It actually loses to it. That's insane. Very, very cool. Okay, Nitrogen Hammer stronger than I thought. I just assume they always show us videos of the NPC losing, but in this case they didn't, and it looked really cool. Some really big, like, cool splash art. Love it. And then we see this guy, this little scuba diver guy, and he had the Icebreaker, which is, in this case, a silver tier, medium weapon and tool that every 6 seconds deals 20 damage and removes freeze from your items. And then its passive ability is when any item gains freeze, charge this plus 1 seconds. I'll get to that in a second. When this item gains freeze, remove freeze from it. So this can never be frozen itself. Interesting, okay. Very, very interesting thing here. At least for me. Charge this 1 second. I swear that was called advance before. So they've changed charge for advance. And you've got this like +1 and then like hourglass with a lightning bolt in it. I'm guessing that's the new like skip a second of the cooldown symbol, and phrasing is charge rather than advance. So good to know that going forward. And yeah, we've got an anti-freeze item. I mentioned this as we were quickly glancing through the video, but if you didn't watch that, you skipped straight to the good stuff. That's fine. Happy for you to do that. If you did skip, or even if you didn't skip, please subscribe, please like the video, leave a comment for, you know, algorithm gods and whatever. Anyway, these items, things like Icebreaker, I assume there's going to be one for burn, maybe one for poison, these sort of anti-condition items, or very specific anti-build items. So maybe there's like a... I mean, there have been in the past, right, items that deal percentage of the max health of your opponent. If you're against like a very fast-firing, very aggressive Vanessa build, you're just going to get rolled over if you've got a max health damaging item, right? Because she's got very little max health. So percentage isn't really going to do anything, and she's firing loads of stuff at you. Equally with this, right, if this is in your build, and you don't go up against a freeze opponent, you have lost 2 slots in your build for 20 damage every 6 seconds. That's not bad. 20 damage every 6 seconds isn't too bad. This also has going for it that it's a weapon and a tool, so it can benefit from both sorts of synergies. But unless freeze is specifically like a big part of the meta, or unless you really, really, really hate freeze, I don't see this getting much play. But at the same time, I'm kind of okay with that. Because if this didn't exist, and the meta became freeze, what are you supposed to do? You just have to play freeze against freeze. Hope that you outfroze them. I hope you've got the right sort of items as you were going through the shop. Items like this can allow you to defeat metas that arise, if you know how to go after them. So, interesting idea. I don't see these sorts of things getting much play, but neither do I think they're necessarily bad for the game, given how this game is structured. Not every single item is supposed to be meta all the time, right? There will be items that are just there for flavor, because it's a bazaar. Like, it's not just a purely competitive game. There are, you know, some, or at least I hope there are some things in this game that are just for the spice of life. So yeah, now it's going to show us going against the same guy with the same sort of health, and we're going to slaughter him because we're going to unfreeze our double whammy and go bonk, or bonk bonk, I guess. Interestingly, we don't have like 170 gold this time, or 107. So Blizzard. Okay, this is different from what the other guy had then, right? Maybe? At the start of each fight, freeze all non-weapon items for 2 seconds. So this would have only... Well, I mean, it would have frozen Phonograph, maybe, but it doesn't have a cooldown. And it would have frozen Luxury Tents. Because these are both weapons. That's at the start, though. At the start of fights... So, story time for any of you who haven't been here for a very long time. One of the first times we saw a very complete version of the Bazaar. When I say very complete, we got a vertical slice and it looked like the game worked. The game is very, very fast-paced. They were trying everything they could to try and slow down the games a bit because they were all ending in an instant. And the issue was that they had too many instances of things that happened at the start of a fight. For example, Vanessa had a weapon, which would just... its passive was just activate at the start of a fight. You think, okay, that's not too bad. But when Vanessa has a bunch of different items that synergize and work around weapon procs, if you've got a weapon that triggers at the start of a fight, just immediately, you then proc all those other items. And then at the time, we had weapons that triggered off of weapons triggering. So that would proc, and then the other weapon would proc, and then the thing that procced based on weapons would proc twice. If not more, because you could have had more of those weapons that procced off weapons, and it just became this whole sort of just catastrophe, this explosion at second 0 of every battle. So I am impressed to see that they've included more at the start of each fight, especially right at the beginning of the game. This is, you know, patch -1 of the Bazaar, right? And we have an at the start of each fight freeze ability. Now, I'm sure they could just rotate this out in future, but say they don't, and they bring in some more freeze synergies later down the line. I don't know, maybe they bring out a freeze hero or something. Something like Blizzard could go real hard, real quickly, and be a massive problem. Then again, if you're only getting it in like a 1 in, 7 chance, if there's an even distribution between items and abilities to get after you beat a opponent, if there's only a 1 in 7 chance to get it by finding this NPC and beating them, it's not going to be very repeatable. But it'll be hella fun when you do. So, I mean, I look forward to seeing the crazy shenanigans that happen. Interesting ability nonetheless. Oh, would that synergize with your own scythe? I mean, I guess it would and it wouldn't, right? Like, if you freeze your own items, it's going to unfreeze them. And that's it. So I guess it helps. It makes it less bad. And that was it. Here's our big Frost Yeti. What a wonderful, wonderful video. Lots of items, and we're getting much closer to October, guys. It's like October -8th at the point of me recording this video. So, soon.